Hello, hello everyone, and thank you everyone for connecting. We're back. The Super Tom is back. This is great, everyone. Thank you for being here one more time. We have a great session today. It's session 22, and we're gonna be live with one of the greatest psycho rock stars at the moment, at least from my point of view. I know that a lot of people that are in the psycho environment has heard his name, of course, and has heard of him because of the psycho hackathon. Uh, he is one of the creators of the hackathon. He will be able to, of course, introduce himself later, but I want to give you a heads up. He's a psycho rock star, and thank you, and we will welcome the one and the greatest Akshay Sura.
Thank you. I don't think I deserve all of that, but I'll take it. Hey guys, so today we'll be talking about AI is rewriting the CMS and are we ready? Talking about governance, risk, responsibility in this modern CMS world and the teams. My name is Akshay Sura. I've been doing this for a long time, working on Sitecore since 2007. Um, Sitecore Hackathon is something that I started. It's like we just ran the 13th year. Sitecore Slack is another one which I created, which a lot of the Sitecore people use. So today's session is not a product demo. It's not anti AI, and it is not fear driven. It's something that most teams are already experiencing, but have not fully named what it is. AI is no longer just a feature inside the CMS. It's changing how we build, deploy, personalize, govern digital experiences. Um, and the question is not whether your team is using AI, it's whether your team is governing it deliberately. And that's the main issue here. So this all started last month. So I watched one of the developers write a prompt instead of writing code. And I was like, so no pseudocode, no design document, just a prompt. And it generated hundreds of lines of code. It compiled fine. It passed QA. The QA tests were also automated. It was serialized and it was deployed before lunch. So it had me thinking 6 months from now, if that rendering breaks, who exactly understands what that rendering does? What was the prompt that was used to build that rendering? That moment has been like really interesting because it's not rare anymore. It's becoming more and more normal. Most of us, if not all of us, are using AI. So for years, CMS environments were very predictable, right? So we told the system what to do, we wrote the renderings, we defined the rules, we configured the pipelines, we customized the pipelines, and the platform did exactly what we told it to. Maybe something here and there where there's the odd bug and we fix that bug. Today we are in a different reality, which is we're in an assisted present. So AI helps us scaffold components. It drafts personalization logic. It can generate content. It suggests uh, configuration patterns, right? And those changes seem subtle, but they're very, very important. So authorship is now shared. It's no longer person A, person B. The responsibility becomes distributed. It's no longer developer A or developer B. Rules are no longer only human written, they're often now machine suggested. So that doesn't mean the system's broken. It means the operating model has changed. So the platform still executes, but what feeds into it now is changed. It's more assisted. And when the authorship becomes shared, ownership must become explicit. What I mean by that is because we are using AI to generate code, content, personalization rules, there still needs to be someone who is in charge of it or who's responsible for it. If we don't define that clearly, the risk does not explode loudly. It actually accumulates very quietly until one day something drastically happens. There's a term floating around that we all use called vibe coding, right? So you prompt it until it looks right. You tweak until it compiles. You commit it. You move on. The workflow becomes prompt, and then you generate, adjust, commit, serialize, deploy. And here is where the shift worries me a little bit. The bar has moved from "I understand this implementation" to "it works." AI lowers the cost of generation, but it doesn't lower the cost of maintenance. And in sitecore environments, serialization makes decisions durable, right? If generated configurations enter your pipeline without review, they become part of your architecture. PowerShell scripts written by prompts, integration logic, nobody fully understands it. Security assumptions that do not match your authentication model. We just had a webinar with Adam and Michael West, who work on the Sidecar PowerShell scripts module. We talked about this, and that's the scary part. Is I have seen people just generate the script from AI and just directly use it. I've seen teams deploy AI generated serialized items that look pretty harmless. Um, they broke 3 weeks later during publishing, right? So 2 days of investigation, nobody remembers the prompt. That's, I think, the new shape of like the technical debt. It arrives faster, it hides better, it costs the same to fix, regardless of whether humans wrote it or whether we AI generated it. Um, Now, if you shift to marketing, so we talked about developers, the next segment is marketing. So if we shift to marketing, AI tools built into modern CMS platforms enable marketers to generate content at scale. So we can generate 50 variants in minutes, landing pages from multiple regions instantly, translations on demand. Sounds awesome. So I've watched teams lit up for the first time when they see this. They're like, "Oh wow, that's awesome! This I can do this, I can do that." But here's the scenario, right? 12 regional pages that are generated. Three of the references, a feature is not available in the specific language market. No one catches it because the output looks great. The random checks that they did work fine. The content looks fluent, it looks polished, but it's wrong. If the output increases 5 times, but the review stays the same, something breaks because it doesn't add up. You're generating a lot more, but you're checking same or less than you used to before. It's not sustainable. So this one is another example, and this one is a little bit scary because assume AI is suggesting personalization rules. The rule is if a visitor views a page twice, we show a 15% discount. Sounds normal, not an issue. But that pattern wasn't validated against any real segmentation data, or it just seem plausible. So imagine that rule goes into effect. We run it over the weekend. 40,000 visitors see the discount which AI created. This is not a personalization bug, it's a proper rule. But imagine the revenue event this could cause if this personalization is touching money and privacy. So AI assisted logic without review, push it out. Out of those 40,000 visitors, assume a quarter of them, 10,000, maybe even less. Let's do even less. 5,000 people end up hitting this personalization rule, getting the 15% discount, and out of those 5,000 people use the 15% discount. Now, that's a huge revenue event in the sense that it's affecting your underlying business if you just publish this rule without manual review. And the third piece of this, so we talked about developers, we talked about marketers. Now we're going to talk about the governance, which is always in play, right? So most CMS environments, we have the three groups. The engineering cares about architecture, marketing cares about velocity, legal cares about risk. What's interesting is AI accelerates all three of them. It accelerates engineering, it accelerates marketing, it accelerates what legal does. But it moves faster than the alignment between each of these segments. So initially, even without AI, there is no proper alignment between engineering, marketing, and legal usually. On top of that, you give them accelerators like AI, where they're able to do a lot of things. It becomes even more difficult. So if engineering adopts AI by using assisted development without legal awareness or compliance, then there's a compliance gap which forms. If marketing scales content without architectural oversight or governance, then the debt accumulates. Governance does not collapse loudly, it collapses quietly until someone finds something, a lawsuit, or someone finds an issue. That's when everything shows up. So these are the things that you'll hear quite a bit, right? So AI makes us faster, and that's true. But faster is not automatically better. So when a leader says we need to move faster, the answer is guardrails do not slow you down. Rework from unreviewed AI output does, right? So just by putting guardrails doesn't mean we're going to be any slower. It's just being careful. Um, but imagine if we don't have guardrails, we put it out there, the amount of rework we would have to do if we find something takes much longer, costs a lot more. So when the leader says to us, competitors are already using AI everywhere, the answer is yes, some of them may be accumulating risk that they haven't measured yet. So it's easy to say they're using it, we should use it too. Yeah, we should, but we should probably follow a standard practice like a software development lifecycle that has been there for decades. There's a reason for it. um, when the leader says AI is good enough, and we've heard this actually. I wrote an article about this. One of our customer divisions said AI is good enough. No one's stopping me from doing it. Um, it is good enough to generate. It's not good enough to validate itself. That's still our job as practitioners. It's our job to validate, make sure that it runs what it's supposed to. So this isn't about stopping AI. This isn't about stopping progress. This is about stopping unsupervised AI. So first, human review should not be negotiable. It's a non-negotiable thing. No AI generated content, code, artifact should ship without someone being responsible, an actual person being responsible. Uh, if AI touches something, someone should own it. No anonymous components, no orphan serialized items. Third, governance must scale with output. So if the velocity increases 5 times to generate content, the reviews must scale appropriately. So the human review of making sure that content that's generated is valid, or the testing of it, or the checking of it, also should scale proportionally. And fourth, verify before you trust. So the trust is earned through validation, right? So you have a set of constructs which generate content or generate images, generate code. The more you validate it, the more you refine it, validate, refine, validate, you generate a little bit of trust. You understand, hey, this is how this code works. So over a period of time, once you validate, tweak, you get to a point where you kind of trust the process and like, okay, it generates to up to level 7. I need a 10, but by default at that moment in time, you can trust that it can generate between a 6 and a 7 in terms of quality, and then you can take it from there. So there's no steps that you can skip. These are all mature signals that we must follow. So the difference between teams that are thriving with AI and the teams that are struggling is not the tooling. So that we all have the same tools that are commercially available to us, unless some of you are have data science backgrounds and mainframes and data centers that we all don't know of. Um, all of us have access to the same commercial tools. It is the operating model maturity that is different between different teams. So high AI adoption with low governance, it creates chaos. High adoption with strong governance creates leverage. So most teams are currently experimenting. They're trying to figure out repetitious processes. How do we make them generic? How do we make it use of AI to get them done? How do we do this? How do we do that? So this is all normal. Experimenting is all process of learning, totally normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is define guardrails. So this is where the stability comes back into play. When you have guardrails, checks and balances to check what you've done as opposed to what is coming out. Is it valid? Go back, repeat, and tweak is super important. So AI is reshaping how we operate, not just the CMS, but pretty much any world that you're in at this moment. But since we are in the CMS world, let's talk about the CMS. But I want to mention that the CMS has not uh, become less important. If anything, it became more important. Now, the reasons why it became more important is now we need the architecture matters more when generation is cheap, right? People are able to do all kinds of things with the CMS. So the way it's architected, the way it has checks and balances matters. Serialization discipline matters more when mistakes scale instantly. So that's super important. Ownership matters more when nobody remembers the original prompt or who owns this piece of code, content, asset. So AI is really not a threat, unsupervised AI is. And that makes our role as practitioners more critical than ever. It's our job to push back when we need to, it's our job to educate when we need to, it's our job to ask or tell or request or enforce when we need to. It's our job and we need to do a better job. Um, and it's interesting, before we get into this part, I wanted to kind of, let me go back. So before we get into this part, the next part, which is where we talk about different examples, I want to talk about responsible and unsupervised AI, right? So, from an unsupervised AI perspective, there are organizations that we currently work with who are basically not setting any guidelines, are not giving any guidance to their people who work in their company, who are letting, so basically people in marketing or data or development, IT, doesn't matter who you are. If you're not restricted, you're able to create a, hey, here's a, so if someone in the marketing org, an intern, for instance, even, they can be like, oh, wait a second, I just created, what do you call, I just created a brochureware website in 2 hours. I used Replit. It's awesome. Marketing takes that site, makes it live by themselves, does not run it by IT, does not run it by governance. Now that is unsupervised AI. We don't want that. Now, in order for us to have a responsible AI, which is not unsupervised, we have to give people guidelines. You don't have to restrict them. So even if you say, okay, in the Office network, you can reach Claude, you can't reach ChatGPT, they can put all the restrictions in the world. People will find a way to do it, right? I'll do it on my personal computer, send the file as an email or the content of a PowerShell script in an email, copy the email and paste it on the computer that's restricted. People get around this, but that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to guide them, give them, educate them, make them responsible for it. So what I mean by that, one of our customers is a pharma customer, the other one is in the financial industry. They make us go through a 4-hour course on AI, and this is something that we had to do it recently. What they talk about is, here's all of the regular things that you guys have been trained on: social engineering, someone walking behind you in the door, someone, getting to your laptop if it's not locked. All of that is fine and dandy, but from an AI perspective, we want you to only put the documents or the content of the company which is marked as public. Anything which is not marked as public, don't put it in there. Can people put it in there? Absolutely. You cannot stop people or restrict people in different ways, right? They could take a picture of the screen, they could do 100 different things, but the company is at least trying to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. You should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this. This is the consequence. So if you put in a document that is not public in there, it gives competitor advantage to a competitor, or it gives internal information away, and then that would cause this A, B, and C. So they walk you through the scenarios of different ways you can leak things inside of AI for proprietary things, how you should and shouldn't do, and then also guidance on their software development lifecycle. Yeah, the generation went up, but the code reviews also should go up. Content generation went up, but the content review should also go up. So the people who are doing responsible AI, they're giving you the guidelines, they're giving you what you should and shouldn't do, and they're trying to educate you. They're giving you the right tools. Some companies even buy an enterprise license for Claude or um, Copilot, and then they have like company policies on there. So that is being more responsible, more intentional about what you're doing, and that's something I think will make us better. There's a reason why the software development lifecycle processes have been there for decades, because they work. There is a checks and balances. Even with all of that, we run into security threats, we run into a lot of leaked code, a lot of SQL injection, all of that fun stuff. So imagine if we didn't do that. So finally, um, these are the three questions. I don't know if anyone is posting any questions, but I'll give my answer, and then if anyone has any questions and stuff, or they have answers to this, more than welcome. You can jump in. So, where has AI surprised your team? Is the first question. So I'll give my answer, but anyone can jump in. So from my perspective, what it surprised us is not that it can generate all of it, or it can do 100 different things very well, it seems like, right? But there are times when you push back, and it will be like, oh, that's right, you're right, I should have done this, you're right, this is wrong, I should have checked that. And the amount of times you push back and it says you're right and agrees with what you're saying, that by itself is a bit scary. And that's the most surprising part for me, is you can't blindly take its word for it. It'll tell you, oh, I wrote this in next 14.6. Why did you write it down next 14.6? Isn't there a latest version of next? You're right, there is a latest version of next. Let me upgrade to next 16 to make it more compatible with the content SDK, right? So it's very interesting that you have to push back. You can't just take its answers for what it's worth. So that's the first question. Um, I don't know if there's a chat, or let me have a look real quick.
Yeah, we can look at it in the live itself.
Yeah,
I'll
that's what
let you
I'm.
know if there are. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah, no worries. And then, so the second one is what governance gaps worry you? And that's the thing I think we talked about during this, which is there right now there isn't much governance in the teams that we're working with, that we're seeing all of this, and we keep guiding them that there needs to be some guidance, there needs to be some governance in terms of what they can and can't do, what they should and shouldn't use. If they are pushing AI code, AI content, needs to be reviewed by someone, has to be attached to a person's name. It can't be, I don't know who it is. So that's the governance gap that we are seeing at this moment in time, which is unsupervised AI is extremely dangerous. And then, so the final question is, what would responsible AI look like in your organization? So AI, responsible AI looks like all the things that we talked about, which is everyone knows the risks of AI, everyone understands what's private, what's public, everyone understands that you don't just copy an environment file with all kinds of keys into chat gpt or claude, giving away private information which could be a security threat. You talk about it as a team, you start a process as a team, you improve upon that process as a team, but everyone should know some sort of guidance on how to use AI responsibly in their own job function, what you can and can't do, and there's always checks and balances. So if every code review, whether it's AI generated or human generated, has to go through the same code review process. So that is done by someone senior, it's done by a human. You may take help from AI to give you quick tips on the review, but you still have to do the code review. Same with the content, same with everything else. Um, so it's really, really important to do that. That's what I would give as my answer. After that, um, we had some. I can take questions if anyone has questions, but there were some really interesting conversations, right? So I presented it at three different user groups. There were quite a few different questions. So most of them were exactly similar, but there were some questions where you're like, that's interesting. In terms of like the example that I gave, which is you push back and it's like, you're right, I should have done this. You're right, I should have done that. So that's an interesting part. One of the other example I like giving is there are times when we first started this, like last year, there are times where I spent like 16, 17 hours doing stuff in a coding assistant. Couldn't, I was just going round and round, paused for I went, took a nap, came back. Within a few minutes I fixed the issue. I think we're getting a bit over reliant on the output and not really, like, if you need to change a color, go change it. Don't ask the AI to go change a color, because you should know exactly where to go change a color. That's really, really important. And checking every single thing. So you can write AI code and then ask AI to write the test for the AI code, because it's again, it'll do the job to the best of its knowledge, but you gotta check it to make sure all the tests are right, all the playwright tests are right, all your unit tests are right. Someone's got to make sure of that. So
yeah.
those are the two examples I would give.
If I may jump, sorry to if I interrupt you, Akshay. First of all, this is a great topic. I mean, for at least all of us that are in the development world, it is it is well, it went from scary to like daily life usage, as you said. And yeah, I think what concerns us mainly is what you just explained. Like We need to have guardrails. And if you can go back to the four questions, please, so that we can see it. So yeah, one of the interesting things that comes to my head is um, I've seen, for example, agentic AI. It's basically AIs speaking to one to another, right? So do you think in the future, or how close are we to having AI supervise AI?
I think we're already there. Um, do they do a good job? I don't. I don't think they do. But I think we're already there. So like the agentic AI stuff Sitecore has is really great, right? It can check your SEO scores every night and then propose the tweaked content tomorrow morning, which is fine and dandy. But again, someone needs to review that. Someone needs to approve that. So we're already there. It's only going to get better. And don't get me wrong, like I think it's coding is this perfect space, not even content generation, to be honest. Coding is this perfect rules based space where you know if you do this, this will happen, right? So from a coding
Mhm.
perspective, AI will only get better. It can do more things, it can do visual things, it can do this and that. As it's doing that, there's a cycle of it starts from a number. So if it's between 1 to 10 in quality, it starts from 2 or 3, and then over a period of time, as it learns, it gets better. It probably never gets to 10 because I don't think anyone get can get to 10, right? Even manual coding, I would not give any code a 10. I would probably give a 9 at the most, um, but we are there for sure.
Yeah, right, right. I think maybe there's going to be it's going to be a while until we see like AI properly supervising and doing a good job, as you said. We actually have a question from Mariella in the chat. Hi, Mariella. Thank you for always being there. She asks, what percentage improvement in development productivity can be achieved using AI, and specifically with Psycher AI?
Yeah, no, this is a really good question. So I don't know if you guys noticed or not. Um, the content SDK version 2 of Sitecore AI that was released comes with MD files which help agents build code. And that I think Robert Lim also had a blog post like he upgraded from version 1 something to 2 in like record time, right? Like that's the amazing part of it is that is the progress for me. Like they're no longer they're looking at the landscape, they're seeing, hey, this is how people are using our software from a developer experience perspective. Us as Sitecore, we're gonna, at least that product team made an effort to say we're gonna make it easy for you guys because you're gonna use, Cursor or Claude or whatever the thing is, and they added the agent.md file, they added other files, right? And it became, our lives became easier to upgrade to version 2 of content SDK. Now,
Right.
what it how efficient it is based on how you train it, how much information you give it, what guardrails you give it in terms of what it can do. I personally, like in some of the things that we do, we've been able to get between 30 and 60% efficiency in what we do. So we the process we follow has quite a bit of manual intervention in places, but we can, like, the stuff that we are able to generate right now is pretty decent as a junior developer would. And then one of our seniors picks that up, makes the tweaks, code reviewed, gets back into the repo. So you can get a good amount of efficiency from this for sure.
Nice. That's good to hear. Um, in terms of development, maybe it enters into the word governance. Um, would you would you tag, for example, branches in the repository that contain AI intervention, or is that not really needed?
Um, so that's a scary question because uh, if your entire branch is AI generated, that's a very scary thing for me, to be honest. Whoever's generating it, the junior developer, senior developer, has to do some checks before they check it in. They can't just be like, all right, I need 15, these 15 things done. They generate it. At the most, they do check if it builds, if it runs. Oh, great. And then they check it in. That's a scary thing for me. So I'm assuming they followed the process. They used it to generate stuff to get them started or get them halfway through or whatever the thing is. They made the changes. They followed their process of testing it locally, trying to push to the local dev, testing it. So tagging is never a bad idea, right? It's more information. So someone who's reviewing it has a better understanding of, hey, this is supposed to go in release 15, it's supposed to go next week, this is what who touched it. If we tag it with AI assisted or AI, at least they'll know. So yeah, absolutely, I would do that. But don't just check an AI code without any checks at all into the repo in the first place.
You heard it here. Um, Regarding responsible AI, could you tell us how can you handle it? What is like some of maybe 3 points that you could speak to? What
Yeah.
does a responsible AI looks like?
So from like a development perspective, when we've
Hmm.
kind of touched it throughout the presentation, it's more of everyone on the team knowing what it is, right? So you want to use AI to generate stuff, absolutely go ahead, but no straight AI code gets checked in. You still have to follow your process as if you're writing the code. So you need to review the code, you need to run it locally, you need to check that branch on a dev server. If that all works, you run your unit tests and follow the regular process, which is that specific branch gets tested by the QA person, it's validated, someone does a code review. Like we need to follow all of our regular processes of code reviews, pushing it to different environments and testing, and treat it as if you've written your code. You still have to look through all of that. And the whole team knows what they're doing. The QA team knows that they have, say, 500 unit tests which can run, but at the same time they still have to do the smoke test, they still have to do the white label testing, they still have to do the black label testing. Same with content. If content or translations are generated automatically, they all have to go into a workflow. Someone human has to look at that workflow and approve or deny each of those changes to the content items, things like that. I think knowledge and communication between teams to know what they can and can't do, what they should and shouldn't do. That's the number one thing that you can do to start doing responsible AI. Then you document it, and then you constantly update this documentation on this is what you do. If a new team member comes in, they should be able to pick it up to say, hey, okay, I
Right.
understand this is the process that you guys follow. So, and you can start small and then you can start building upon it, but you can't just not document it or not follow it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Shout out to Gabo in the chat. He asks, what is the recommended approach to implementing AI in a company with strict data privacy requirements and a preference not to share data externally?
So for that, hoping the company is big enough that they can have their own internal LLM and internal instance. So we've seen that, right? So um, in the pharmaceutical company customer that we deal with, they have their own internal data science team. They have their own internal AI engineers. They have their own internal AI instance. So they're like, you can use it, use this. And if you find anything that you can't or won't or doesn't do, let us know. So that is one instance I've seen. I've also seen people running their own local instances. So I've seen people, they create it in a Docker instance, have it running, they use it for the purpose that they need to, update it if they need to. scrap it and rerun it again. I've seen that as well, but the stricter the environment that you're in, the more precautions you need to take. You can't just open a website and a prompt and dump it and expect it to work. Would it have all the capabilities that you would get from a commercial platform? Probably not. But that's something that you can work with your internal team and they can use other models. So, from a AI perspective, for a company which deals with data privacy, they're not just dealing with code, they're not just dealing with content, they're dealing with all the statistical data, all of the math. So, it's not just a LLM that they're dealing with, they're dealing with AI in terms of processing factual data. So they use more of the mathematical models which don't interpret things. They follow a pattern, right? So that's what I would say.
Right, right. Okay, I think there has been people coming in and out of the stream, but still, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Akshay. I think this is a very insightful information and data that you have given us, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having.
Uh, no, for sure. And sorry for the technical problems.
No, that's fine.
This is something that we haven't done in a couple months. So yeah, but yeah, I think it has gone well. And from the Sogulatsam community, we thank you very much. Hope to see you next time too.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. And this is the end. We thank you all and see you on the next one. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.